Catholic Moments, episode 126. Mary Kay Hoal, yoursphere.com.
Catholic Moments is sponsored by CatholicMatch.com, the leading Catholic singles community. Being single can be a challenge. Catholic Match helps make it a little easier. To get started today, visit CatholicMatch.com/Lisa.
Finding joy in the journey and hope in the heaven yet to come.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Moments. And now, here's your host and my mom, Lisa Hendy.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Teresa Smith, the wonderful singer of our theme song, Blooming. And thank you also to CatholicMatch.com, the leading Catholic online singles community. And thank you for your kind sponsorship of yet another Catholic Moments podcast. And welcome everyone to this week's episode. I'm very happy this week to share with you my conversation with Mary Kay Hoal, who is a terrific Catholic mom and the founder of something that stands the possibility of actually revolutionizing social media networks for our children. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Mary Kay's company, yoursphere.com, and to let you know a little bit more about that and her work in the world of new media on behalf of our kids. But before we share that interview, we need to kick off this week's show with a special Veterans Day message delivered by a veteran. And I'm very happy to wish a happy Veterans Day to our own Deacon Tom Fox and share with you this week's Deacon Moment.
There were four of us, two deacon couples driving in a rental car in northern Italy. Hours earlier, we had left Florence and were driving towards Siena. All of a sudden, we came upon a military cemetery, sacred burial grounds for 4,402 U.S. men and women, uncles and aunts and grandparents who died there in Italy in 1943 and 1944. We pulled our car into this beautiful national cemetery, amazed at how meticulous and dignified the grounds were, such beauty. This unexpected place, which honored our war dead, was a reminder of what America has donated to other lands and peoples. Throughout the world, many countries have been gifted with generations of peace and prosperity, gifts of the lives of an earlier generation of American sons and daughters. We tourists hadn't known that the Florence Cemetery was there, but we stayed praying as we walked among the markers, looking over the various tributes and plaques. There were a number of panels which offered prayers, poems, inspirational words. Here are permanent thoughts of two of the panels. Therefore, do not mourn with the parents of the dead who are here with us. Rather, comfort them. Let their burden be lightened by the glory of these dead. The love of honor alone is not staled by age, and it is by honor that the end of life is cheered. And then, just to the left of a chapel door, O Lord, support us all the day long until the shadows lengthen, and the evening comes, and the fever of life is over, and our work is done. Then in thy mercy grant us a safe lodging, and a holy rest and peace at last. To veterans everywhere, we are so feeble in our attempts to thank you, to honor you as we should, and in some cases to provide you with the benefits and care that has been suggested or promised to you. To you, living men and women in our audience, if you are veterans and we could see you, I would ask you to stand and be honored, and I would ask for the heartfelt applause of all others who listen. We who are safe and sound because of you, we may fail in our efforts to repay you, but be assured God never forgets. And may you have the holy rest and peace promised in that cemetery in Florence. Blessings. This is Deacon Tom.
Well, thank you, Deacon Tom, not only for that wonderful and very inspirational message, but also for your service to our country. I never realized before that you served in the Army and didn't know that until your lovely wife, Dee Fox, your co-host on Catholic Vitamins, shared with me that little known fact today. So happy Veterans Day to you and to all the men and women who have served and who are serving currently our country. Their bravery, their heroism, the service that they give means so much to all of us. And on this day, when we pause to celebrate them, we celebrate Deacon Tom and all of our listeners who out there may be standing at our request to give you a round of applause. So thank you to each and every one of you. And next up, I'm very happy to share with you my conversation with an inspirational woman who is absolutely on fire for the work she's doing, Mary Kay Hoal of yoursphere.com. As a special treat on this week's episode of Catholic Moments, I'm very happy to share with you an in-person interview with someone who's very special. She's doing great work in the Catholic new media and in new media in general in the world of social networking and creating safe environments for our family and friends to meet. And my guest today is Mary Kay Hoal. How are you today, Mary Kay?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Terrific to have you. I'm so blessed that she was actually here in Fresno speaking to our Catholic Business Club this morning, so we were able to get a little bit of her time to have her share with us the great work that she's doing. But let me ask you, first of all, to introduce yourself and your family to our listeners.
I'm a mom of 5. I've been married for 22 years. My husband and I have 5 children, bookends, if you will, an 18-year-old freshman in college and a kindergartner. I have a 15-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old son also, and an 8-year-old son. And my youngest is a daughter. My kids are both biological and adopted from foster care in California. And I'm, of course, a Catholic mom, and we go to St. James Parish in Davis, California.
What a treat. Now, your son and my son must be right around the same age. I have an oldest who's 18, but not yet in college. He's still at one last year in high school. Tell us about what motivated you to start Your Sphere and the other work that you're doing.
I've been in media for the last 22 years, and specifically in high-tech media, looking at, technologies, whether computers or websites. And it was 3.5 years ago when my daughter was 12. She's now 15 and a half, and she wanted to have a MySpace page. Mm-hmm. And I had been researching, of course, because I was in technology media, and our editors had been writing about sites like MySpace, for example, weren't great places for kids because kids often gave away too much information, whether it's their address or their phone number. And so I started doing some research. Then I read an article by Kevin Paulson from Wired magazine, and he found that there were 729 registered sex offenders on MySpace. So my husband and I sat down and talked about whether or not we'd allow a MySpace profile. And we had said no. Well, that went over like a ton of bricks with my daughter. She wanted to have a MySpace very much. And this was pre-Facebook in its popularity, because at that time Facebook was just for college students with a .edu address.
Right.
So all the rage at the time was MySpace. So despite the fact that we're a family with rules, consequences, morals, and values. Oh,
imagine that. You crazy people.
I know. My daughter, she has skills that are going to serve her well as an adult, but as a parent, they were very challenging. She was very determined. She was very creative, and she repeatedly went and set up a MySpace page. So, sparing you all of the drama that went on in our house.
We can only imagine.
Yes.
Cue the soundtrack.
No, we'll stay away from that one. I found myself October 2006 at my kitchen table crying, thinking, this cannot go on. There was so much tension in our family, my husband and I arguing, my daughter causing a lot of problems. I decided, I can't do this anymore. I've got to figure what to do. So what I did, I didn't have a MySpace page. I needed to understand what the draw is. I went in and immersed myself in MySpace tagged Skonex, High Five, Friendster, Face Party, Teen Spot, my yearbook, Bebo, and then over the course of the year, when Facebook was opened up, I ended up joining Facebook, and I readily admit that I was driven by the sexual predation fear of the 729 registered sex offenders. Well, by 2007, MSNBC reported that there weren't 729 registered sex offenders. There were 29,000 on MySpace. So I thought, okay, I am doing the right thing. So I went into these communities. I did not friend anybody. I didn't set up a picture. I just immersed myself. And again, while I was driven by the fear of someone, a sexual predator, knocking on my daughter's door, so to speak, because and getting to know her, getting to know that she loves soccer and that she loves fashion and, you know, where she wants to go to college, because that's what kids share on social networking sites. I was driven by that fear. If I wouldn't open up the door to one registered sex offender, why would I do it, you know, with 29,000? That was my fear. But once I was in the culture and saw what was going on, that paled, as scary as that sounds,
Right.
in terms of what's actually going on there. With my profile set to private, I got a friend request from Samantha. I clicked on Samantha and I was looking at pornography. I hadn't left the site. In sites like myyearbook.com, for example, they had a section called, just like in a regular yearbook, you know, going to be most successful, they had a section called best body part. So I saw 12, 13, 14-year-old girls posting pictures of their breasts. And I saw, you know, adult men soliciting them. Right now, that same site boasts, this is how they monetize themselves and increase their profits 121%. They boast on their page 1.7 million people sold today. So you go into that community, and our daughters and sons are posting pictures. You know, I'll be in my blog that I'm revealing over the next 2 weeks. You're getting a precursor to what's coming. I'll unveil in a myriad of sites what's going on. And that site in particular, 2 15-year-old girls underage drinking in a sexually explicit photo are auctioning themselves off to the highest bidder. There's a senior in high school who's owned by a 45-year-old man. So if you took that computer away, that interaction is illegal.
Right. But because it's online, we, you know, laugh and turn a blind eye towards it.
Well, I believe parents don't know. I believe parents, except for the parents that are either blogging and using social media.
Right.
You know, I don't want to say we're not the norm, but we're in social media. We understand
Yes.
it, but the average parent out there isn't in social media. You know, maybe they've gotten on Facebook lately because they heard about it, but they're not participating on the other sites. I mean, I didn't know about it. I was just driven by, you know, the fear factor, and I found out that was nothing. And I think if parents knew, they would choose to do differently.
Right.
They would choose a different solution. So, in the course of my year and a half investigative period, if you will, in immersing myself in these communities, I was shocked and horrified and saddened by what I found. And sadly, you know, I had multiple inappropriate experiences, you know, seeing some of the cruelest online behavior between kids, being asked to send a naked photo of myself. Take myself out of it, and the statistics are overwhelming. 1 in 25 aggressively sexually solicited, and aggressively is defined by an adult is actually trying to get a kid to meet them offline. 45% of teens are sending naked photos, oftentimes to people they do not know.
Right.
You know, and there's this phenomenon that you've, you know, blogged about, sexting. You know, my opinion is, you know, it's a natural progression, frankly. They've been doing it online. They've been a part of a culture that sexualizes them. They've been posting inappropriate photos. So why not a cell phone?
Right.
You know, it's just a natural progression. And 70% of 12 to 17-year-old kids are cyberbullied, yet 10% tell an adult about them. That's because kids can be anonymous. Everything from the horrific case of, you know, Lori Drew setting up the fake MySpace page, and Megan Meyer unfortunately killing herself, to the mom just a couple weeks ago that sued 3 or 4 kids that set up a fake profile for her son on Facebook and defamed him, had unfortunate gay comments and photos that weren't true. The son lost out on getting college scholarships. So people have been anonymous, and whether you're an adult or a child, when you're anonymous, oftentimes you behave differently.
Right. Then the standard that you would expect of, you know, you'd say or do things that you wouldn't do just in regular everyday life.
Absolutely.
You know, Mary Kay, what I know, but let our listeners know what your response to this was and what the action that you took was.
Well, actually, as I said, this Catholic Business Conference this morning, I remember that, someone had told me when I was little that, God doesn't give you the opportunity to pray for peace. He gives you the opportunity to make peace. God doesn't give you the opportunity to pray that someone will be, healed. He allows people like doctors to help fulfill that. So I thought, okay, maybe this is my opportunity, not to pray for internet safety, but, this is my opportunity to do something, because what I found in those sites shocked and horrified me, and I realized nobody was looking out for the safety and well-being and positive and all the good things that exist in our kids. So I had the media experience. I had created...
Right, God gave you a skill set that was perfect to take this on.
And so why not apply it? Why not apply it for our kids? So I decided, with the support of my husband, to leave a very successful career and use my skill set. We have 5 kids that we want to be able to go to college, but we decided to make some financial decisions to, really risk our financial future to get this product out there, because I needed to have a product in order to get the funding in order to, get the product built. So I did do that. Was fortunate to find 2 key investors, two Catholic key investors. One was a co-founder of MaxPreps.com, America's source for high school sports, and they had just exited from CBS, and were not funded by venture capitalists because they don't always have the same necessarily, I know this is a general statement, same values that we do. So we're specifically funded by what they call angel investors and not big corporations. And YourSphere has been around in earnest since this past January 2009. We had a little bit of press coverage prior to them, but YourSphere has been built with the help of kids and teens on the inside, because, parents or kids might say, "Oh, how could it be cool? What's fun inside?" A mom created it. So as
sure, Mom, I really want to go hang out in this place that you made.
Exactly, that you actually think is cool. So, and the last thing as a parent I'd ever want to do is embarrass your teenage kids. So we had a network of kids across the United States help mold the product on the inside, and from the parent factor on the outside, it has all of the safeguards that are necessary to put the safety first of our members. So with that said, YourSphere is designed to foster all of the dimensions of kids instead of this hypersexualization of them. Their interest in sports, music, academics, gaming, going to college. And we literally give kids the opportunity to create their own web page based on their unique interest within the community. I will share with parents that YourSphere is advertising free. The reason why a Facebook and a MySpace can't afford the safeguards that YourSphere has deployed is because of 2 reasons. One, they're trying to rely on fractions of pennies from advertising dollars, number one. Or number 2, like Facebook, for example, they're monetizing themselves by using applications that invade the privacy of its members, and we didn't want to do that. So we charge a fee of a dime a day, or $39.95 a year, or you can choose $4.95 a month, and we use those monies to do 3 things. First and foremost, afford the safeguards we have in place, number 1. Number 2, we give 3% back to our members in a scholarship program. And actually, there's 4 things. Number 3, when sponsorship dollars, whether it's sponsoring our Young Writers Contest, we support philanthropies that the kids focus on and, select. And then finally, we actually offer fundraising programs for youth groups, schools, and nonprofits. And we give 40% of every YourSphere membership fee back to that school, youth group, or nonprofit.
Terrific. So taking number 4 as an example, I would imagine that one of the concerns that some kids have is, oh, well, I'm going to go to this place and then none of my friends are there. But if your school were to take this on as a campaign and have it become the place that everyone goes, it's a win-win situation because your children find their peers there, your school is being supported, and you know that your kids are in an environment that's safe and loving and that respects the values that you as a parish or school or family would uphold.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that is the challenge with a social networking community and what kids want. Kids want to be where their friends are going to be.
Right.
So whether it's one family at a time, one school at a time, one parish at a time, our goal is to give back to those that positively affect the lives of youths and create a safety first place where friends and families are.
Are there adults on the site, or is it strictly for kids?
Your Sphere is designed for kids and teens through age 18. Okay. I know some mom and dads that do participate in social media are on sites like Facebook. Our intention is not to, block a parent, because it's sitting across from you. I know
Right.
that you're okay,
Yeah.
but you know what? There's sadly, as we found, and as reported, February 3rd, 2009, there were actually 100,000 registered sex offenders on MySpace and nearly close to 60,000. I'm not sure of the exact number on Facebook. So that being said, if a computer wasn't involved, as I've talked about during our conversation today, a lot of the behavior is illegal, immoral, or unethical. It's not typical that kids interact with adult strangers. Right. So again, we don't want to. We're not here to say, Mom and Dad, you can't be involved in your sphere. So what we do is a couple of things. Number one, and I can tell you it's happening now on the site. Clearly, when we have someone that's 11 using perfect grammar and spelling, that we know Mom or Dad is there helping their child set up their profile page. So mom and dad can sit down with their kid, their child, depending on their age, and see what's going on in the community, help set up their profile page. Number two, because we allow children under the age of 13 on Your Sphere, we allow a parent to see anything that their child who's 12 or under, what they've posted on Your Sphere on a parent dashboard.
So you can log in and view the dashboard.
You can view the dashboard and see what your child has posted, and frankly take anything down that you'd like. And then we have a parent newsletter. So that goes out once a month to let parents know about either our Young Writers Contest or a new sphere that was created, or internet safety tips, because one of the things that I think lacks in our parent education, quite frankly, is internet safety, talking to kids about internet safety. So we have an internet safety as part of our newsletter. And then there is my blog, which includes tips and sadly trends, internet safety trends that parents need to be aware of, to educate parents, and then to have a dialogue. Because coming from my experience where there was such tension in my house about MySpace, I don't want parents to have tension about their kids on a social networking site. I don't want it to be about, let me have your password. I need to see what's going on. I want parents to be armed with the information to say, I heard there's a contest going on in Your Sphere, and they're giving away movie tickets, or I heard that there's the scholarship program, or wow, I read in the parent newsletter about that poem that the one young writer wrote. And so I wanted kids not feel pressured or like they had to hide anything, and I want parents to not have to feel like they had to confront their kids.
Right.
I wanted to create communication and dialogue.
Well, one nice thing about this, in my view, is that our children will be eventually moving out of our homes, and our job right now is to form their consciences and help them to make good moral decisions on their own, not just because they're being watched over by mom and dad, but because they know it's the right thing to do. And so what appeals to me about the climate that you've created is that it is a safe environment to do that, to branch out on your own a little bit, grow your wings a little bit, but in a safe environment where you know that you're not going to be necessarily, confronted by images that your parents wouldn't want you to see or anything like that. So how can people, if they're interested, find out more and get their families signed up for this?
They can go to Your Sphere, and it's YourSphere.com. In the right-hand corner, there's a Join Now button. I will share that the way we put safety first is to make sure we know who everyone is. So we ask you to verify your identity as part of the sign-up process. The first 30 days are free, so kids can check it out with no obligation. Parents, again, every member's identity has to be confirmed. So if you just go to yoursphere.com, click yoursphere.com, click Join Now. Kids can become a member, and then at the bottom of our homepage, there's a navigation button that says Your Sphere for Parents, and that's where parents can go and read about the latest internet safety trends and things that they need to be aware of.
How, if I might ask, just how do you do the verification of identity?
It's as simple as, it's as simple as asking for first name, last name, date of birth, last 4 digits of social. If parents don't want to provide that information, even though it's less information than a parent has provided when they got their child a cell phone, parents can pick up the phone and provide us their information over the phone or fax it in. But if you've ever rented a car, if you have a bank account, if you own a home, rented an apartment, this information that we ask for already exists and is in a database. You pick up the phone, you want to get your bank account balance, you give the last 4 digits of your social security number. So YourSphere has paid to be able to access this information because it exists, it's publicly available. Right. Facebook could access it, MySpace could access it, but they chose not to. So we verify your identity that way. We pay for that. And then the second thing we pay for is to verify your information and identity across the registered sex offender database. Okay. So we pay for that. MySpace and Facebook could pay for that, and all of the other sites they've chosen not to. So that's the way we verify identity. And once we know who you are, you then confirm the age of your child. Okay.
So it's a verification of the parent, and then we're trusting the child because of their affiliation with a parent who's been checked out and determined not to be free, or determined to be free of any wrongdoing or
any sexual predation. And again, that's how we eliminate anonymity. And so any child that becomes a member, if there ever is an issue, we know who the parent or guardian is behind that child, behind that child's membership. And again, when the kids know they're not anonymous, we've seen that, they act.
It's wonderful. Yes. I think it's wonderful. I'm all for it. So everyone can head over to yoursphere.com. Spell that for me real quick, just in case we have any faulty spellers in the listening audience.
YourSphere.com.
Great. And we will definitely have links to that in our show notes, as well as other information about yoursphere.com and Mary Kay Hoal, our guest. And we want you to make sure that you contact Mary Kay if you are affiliated with a parish or school that might want to take advantage of their fundraising program. I think that's a wonderful way to, like I said, it's a win-win situation where you can bring a whole community of kids in together to this and really benefit everybody involved. Mary Kay, are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our listening audience before we let you get back to your family?
Thank you. I hope that, honestly, I haven't scared parents. I want them to understand that, we can affect positive change. We just have to choose to. And while I, will share with you, when I uncovered this, my husband wanted to get rid of the computer. And I said, we might as well go in the backyard and, dig a hole in it and put our head in the sand. We can't. We have to choose to make a difference. So please feel empowered by having a solution, and please become as involved as you can be in your child's online life, because you need to. You need to help create and put their safety first, and don't be overwhelmed by the technology. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to become involved.
Well, it's very nice to know that there are moms out there like you that are willing to hold the hand of somebody for whom this is a new and scary thing, and that we do have solutions when our kids come to us with things that we don't necessarily approve of, that you can turn to a good, wonderful option that reflects our values and is a great environment. So I want to recommend everybody over to yoursphere.com. And thank you again to Mary Kay Hoal, our guest for this week's Catholic Moments.
Thank you.
Well, I definitely hope that you'll follow the links that we have over in the show notes wherever you're listening, and be sure to visit yoursphere.com to get more news and information. They have some terrific programs, and I know that it's going to be of benefit to you, your children, your church, your school, and please feel free to email me if you would like more information, and I'm very happy to back the work that Mary Kay is doing, and can't recommend yoursphere.com highly enough for you and for your family. And now we're going to move into the news and feedback portion of our podcast for this week. And first off, I want to tell you that we have this great contest going on this month over at CatholicMom.com. We're calling it the Pregnancy Product Giveaway. And we've got 2 prize packages that are absolutely chock full of great prizes for pregnant women and their babies. And so whether you're pregnant or not, whether you're a woman or not, you're going to want to head over to CatholicMom.com and enter this contest. We've got lots of people who are entering on behalf of friends that they'd like to give the prize to, or also people who are entering to give it to their local crisis pregnancy center. So be sure to get over there and to visit that contest. Two other little bits of information, and these pertain to SQPN items. The first is that I appeared recently on one of our brand new shows over at the StarQuest Production Network, and that show is called Catholic Weekend, and it's a really fun format. Every Saturday, several of the podcasters are getting together to just have a little bit of a conversation, a roundtable discussion, if you will, about current events, goofy things, Catholic news. Again, the show is called Catholic Weekend, and you can visit it at CatholicWeekend.com. And we have a feedback line for that show now. So in the show notes, I'll have that telephone number for you. And also, I want to give you a little heads up that very soon during Advent, we'll actually be beginning our SQPN giving campaign. And we're doing something a little bit differently this year. That is, we're asking for your feedback, and we will be setting up a testimonial line for you to call in and leave your feedback about what the StarQuest Production Network, what SQPN.com and these shows have meant to you. We want to join your voices with ours, with those of the podcasters who are going to be asking for your support in the months ahead. And if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that I've told you before that I really hate asking people for money, but in this case, it goes to a very good cause. And rather than asking you for money this week, I'm just going to ask you to pray about your openness to calling that testimonial line. And as soon as I have a number for that, I will give it to you. But please take advantage of the opportunity to call in and to leave a message about what SQPN.com has meant to you. And also, while we're talking about giving campaigns, I'll just briefly mention that our friends Greg and Jennifer Willits, who run the Rosary Army Apostolate, have begun their giving campaign. I've already given my contribution for the upcoming year because I really firmly believe in the work that they're doing. And I hope you'll do that as well. And finally, I have a little bit of feedback to share with you. First of all, I want to say thank you to my new friends over on Facebook this week. Deborah and Jim are among the friends that I've made over there this week. You can visit my Facebook. It's facebook.com/Lisa Hendy. And I'd love to be friends with you. If you're over there, please hook up with me over at Facebook. And finally, I've got 2 emails to share with you. Let's see. The first of these, and these are emails about recent podcasts. The first one is from Michelle, and this is about last week's podcast with Steve and Joni Abdallah. And she says, "Hello, I'm a farm wife here in Orkney, Scotland. I'm American and married to an Orcadian farmer." And I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing Orkney correctly, Michelle, but I'm just absolutely so thrilled that we have somebody listening from Scotland. And she says, "Our daughter has just turned 1 year old. We're expecting twins too, due in January." Well, congratulations to your family. I just ordered the We Believers mask kit, even if I'm a bit early for Elspeth. I just couldn't resist because that little kit looked ingenious. We've been struggling with the whole issue of bringing toys to Mass, and there really isn't much in the way of church toys on the market that is Catholic-oriented. I'm also very excited about their quiet church, which isn't being sold yet, but I have my eye on it. We want so much for our children to come to loving attending Mass because they actually understand some of what's going on around them, and that they grow to understand more and more as they get older because we're able to help them along the way while still young. Planting seeds, if you will, that hopefully will blossom into a great love of Christ in the Eucharist rather than Mass is boring. Even if the Mass kit isn't able to be used during Mass, it will still prove invaluable as a teaching tool after Mass when I can take the children up to the front and show them the altar, etc., and also at home where they can learn the names of the things and learn to watch the priest to see everything taking place. Nothing helps a child better than having a frame of reference for what is going on around them. I'm so glad that the Abdallah family came up with this fantastic idea. God bless, from Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for being a listener in Scotland and also for taking the time to email me with this feedback. If you would like to share your feedback, you can reach me at lisa@catholicmom.com, and it really does mean so much to me. Actually, I think now that I'm looking at this, I think that Let's see, Michelle actually came over to CatholicMom.com and left a comment on the blog post there. But thank you so much for that, Michelle. And next up, I have another comment, and this was left at CatholicMoments.com from Anna. And this is about my conversation with Father Andrew Govrich, which happened a few podcasts ago when we were talking about vocations. And Anna says, Father Andrew is right. We as parishes need to promote vocations to the priesthood and sisterhood. A friend of mine wanted to become a sister, but needed help paying off her college debts before joining. She asked the community if she could have a spaghetti dinner to help her with her debts so that she could join sooner. Amazingly, her own parish was completely against the idea. Many members refused to support her and were horrified that she wanted to become a sister. She had to bring her dinner idea to a neighboring parish to find support. If communities cannot support their own members' religious vocations, how will we ever find our way out of the vocations crisis? Well, Anna, gosh, I hope that story has a happy ending and that your friend is actually a sister now. And please know that she has our prayers. That email causes me to kind of think about how my own parish, once again, is supporting vocations and what we can be doing as individuals to do that as well. So I question you too, if you've got a good response to Anna's email, to please follow up with me, because these are the types of things that shouldn't be happening in our church. And especially now during the year for priests, we want more than ever to support those who are pursuing religious vocations, whether that be to the priesthood or the religious life. So thank you, Anna, for your comment over at CatholicMoments.com. And let's see what we have left. I think I'm going to hold the rest of this feedback. We're getting a little bit long here. And I want to share with you this week's wonderful Mary moment from our good friend, Sarah Reinhardt.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth.
And my name's Sarah Reinhardt.
It's time for Mary Moment.
The month of November begins with the celebration of All Saints' Day and the sobriety of All Souls' Day. We're on the brink of Advent, and it seems appropriate that before we begin in earnest to look for the baby who is our Savior, we remember those who went before us. It's also appropriate, I guess, that this month of November has me thinking about prayer. I'm supposed to be praying for the deceased souls and those in purgatory, after all. But my prayer life could use some help. You might have the mistaken impression, given that I host this little Mary moment each week, that I'm pious, an example to hold up to your kids, or even good at this prayer thing. Here's a myth buster. I'm not. That's not just fake humility, either. Every single morning, a debate rages in me, one that holds my daunting to-do list on the one side and the amount of time I'll need to complete my prayers on the other. Yeah, there's something to be said about squashing that debate and carrying through with my prayers, I know. But sometimes, many times, I feel like my prayers are a waste. Don't make me roll my eyes by offering me comfort or telling me that trying is what matters. I agree. What makes me roll my eyes is that I know better about myself. Sometimes, many times, oftentimes, I'm just not in it 100%. So how do I motivate myself, boost myself, make my prayers fruitful? As I was thinking about this, I started looking through a quotes file that I keep. I found this excerpt from Joseph Langford's book, Mother Teresa's Secret Fire. Father Langford says, "There is a simple key to fruitful prayer. It is to first take the time to touch God in faith before we engage in prayer, to be in a state of contact with Him before saying prayers. Simply put, it is to pray before you pray. This simple practice can change our experience of prayer. This may seem like a small adjustment, but it opens us onto a reality as large and powerful as God Himself. Without conscious faith, our prayer is not true contact, not prayer at all, but simply cogitation. Transformation is God's free gift, but is only our free act of contact in faith that makes that gift possible. We will still encounter struggles and distractions, but we will at least be touching the hem of His robe, however briefly, every day of our lives. If you're like me, this quote is all well and good when you read it or hear it, but to put it into practice, good luck. That's where I need to remember the heavenly cheerleader I have in my corner, the mother who wants nothing more than to see me succeed at this, the most important work I do. I can turn to Mary and know, without a doubt, that she'll be there for me. I can offer her my prayers before I pray them, ask her to make them beautiful, ask her to help me to be open to God's grace. And why not? I don't think it can hurt my prayer life, and if it helps it, well, all the better. Until next week, my friends, may Mary help you grow in your prayers, growing ever closer to her Son.
Sarah, I want to thank you for being such a wonderful friend and such a great part of the show, but also for sharing so honestly the struggle that many of us face in our prayer life. And as we head into the season of Advent, when we know that we really need to be focusing on praying in our lives, I think that you put words to the sentiments that lie in so many of our hearts. And I really want to thank you for the message that you shared this week. And I want to ask our listeners to reply if you've been touched by this in your own life and you've struggled with difficulties or dry seasons in your prayer life, and it happens to all of us. And I'll be the first to admit that quite often I let my busyness stand in the way of a fruitful prayer life. And it's something I struggle with all the time too. So thank you, Sarah, for putting words to that. And if you have faced this in your own prayer life, I'd love to hear from you. We are always asking you for feedback, and I think that on topics like this, we can truly learn from one another. So thank you to Sarah for raising such an important topic, and hopefully others will chime in on this as well. If you would like more of Sarah's wonderful inspiration, and I know you would, you can always visit her over at her website at www.snoringscholar.com. And I'm also happy to say that she is now a member of our Faith and Family podcast team as well. And so I'm getting to chat with her even more frequently, and it's just a wonderful thing. And you can listen to the Faith and Family podcast over at faithandfamilylive.com. And let's see, I think that's about it for this week's show. So once again, I'll ask you for feedback. You can call our voice feedback line at 206-339-9272. You can email me at lisa@catholicmom.com. You can be my friend on Facebook or follow me on Twitter, or please leave a comment anywhere where you listen to the show. Especially, I'd love to have some comments this week over at sqpn.com. We haven't had any there for a while, and we love hearing from you. So please do share your feedback in whatever way is best for you. And I'm going to once again thank our wonderful show sponsors, CatholicMatch.com. And please invite you to, if you're someone who is single, to consider visiting them at CatholicMatch.com/Lisa. Or if you know of a special single friend in your life and you think that CatholicMatch.com might be a good place for them, why not drop them an email this week and encourage them to visit CatholicMatch.com/Lisa. And we're going to close out this week's show with a special prayer on Veterans Day for all of our veterans. Please join me in a few moments of quiet prayer, especially for the men and women who gave up their lives in service of our country, and also for those serving in country over in Afghanistan, Iraq, and just everywhere, and especially following the tragedy at Fort Hood this week. We want to just remember all of our military men and women in our prayers. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, those whom we honor today are examples of your words. Greater love than this no one has, that he lay down his life for his friends. They gave up their lives in the defense of freedom for their loved ones and their country. Teach me to appreciate the virtue of patriotism, a true and Christian love of country. Let me love my country not to follow it blindly, but to make it the land of goodness that it should be. Let my patriotism be such that it will not exclude the other nations of the world, but include them in a powerful love of country that has room for all others too. We ask this in the name of Our Lady, Queen of Peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, until next week, everyone, I hope you have a terrific week filled with lots of great Catholic moments. And hope to hear from you sometime soon. And have a great weekend, everybody. God bless.
SQPN, leading the way in Catholic new media.